If you put $10,000 in, you lose $10,000
Mm-hmm.
minus some opportunity cost possibly. But what's the upside? If you put $10,000 in, could we get $300,000, $500,000, $1 million worth of business? Could this open up a new door, a new lead source for years to come? So we kind of look at that as, hey, we want to constantly have some speculative lead sources at play. We want to try new things. We always dip our toe in the water. We don't jump head first into the pond. We want to make sure that what we're getting involved in is going to work. So we want to see some initial results as we put some money into it.
This is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast, brought to you by G4 Marketing. Interviews with today's top home improvement entrepreneurs about marketing, sales, money, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, here's your host, Brian Kaskavalcian.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. I have a return guest with us today, David Silverstein. David, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
You're back again. So since the last time you were on, some changes have happened over there. And so why don't you remind everybody, give everybody a little bit of your backstory, and then let us know what changed, and then we'll dive in.
Sure, Brian. Yeah, our business was acquired last June of 2022.
Cool.
But, like you said, my name's Dave Silverstein. I'm with American Home Contractors. We're an exterior remodeling company in the DC metro area. And I partnered up with a couple of my business partners in 2015 when the company was pretty small. And back in 2015, our goal was to grow the business and get it sellable, so that if and when private equity came into the scene, we would have the opportunity to sell if we wanted to.
Yeah.
It just gives us optionality if you have a business that's sellable. So that was our goal in 2015, to grow the business, fine-tune the systems and processes, and make sure that if and when private equity approached us, we would have that option. Because you can always choose not to sell, but
right.
If your business is not attractive, you don't have the option of selling if nobody wants it. So that was our goal.
And it worked.
It worked. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk about what makes a business attractive to private equity, or to really any buyer. What makes that a business attractive?
So first and foremost, the company, has to do well financially. There has to be a good EBITDA or bottom line. So you have to be making money in our industry. It's not like a tech company where you're basing it on top line revenues. We're basing it on net income. So you got to run a profitable business. And typically private equity is looking for businesses in our industry that are making more than $1 million a year. So that's kind of
in income. Very
correct.
Important. Yeah. In net income.
Yep.
Yeah.
After you pay yourself, after you pay all your employees, all your expenses, overhead, all that good stuff, $1 million at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that's a really important distinction, and it's a really good goal or outcome or result to shoot for, regardless of whether you're going to sell or not. That's a good position to be in your business. Okay, so financials, good financials, $1 million in EBITDA.
Yep. First and foremost, the financials have to make sense for private equity to be interested in you. And then, of course, it comes down to reputation, how well you're running your business. They want to look for companies that are market leaders. So in individual markets, our group looks for, making sure the financials make sense, but then how good is their reputation? How much market share could they capture online? Because everything is online, everything's continuing to move online. And as long as you have a good reputation and you run a good, solid business, you should be able to gain more market share in the future by developing even stronger good systems and processes with the help of private equity involved in that business.
When you say online, so aside from reviews, is there more to it than just reviews?
Reviews are the easiest way of seeing if a company is decent in the marketplace, right? I mean, you can ask around, you can reach out to suppliers and manufacturers. And, that's part of the due
But when you
diligence
say
process.
online, it's mainly they're looking at reputation online.
Correct. Yep.
Got it.
Reputation online, Google reviews, Yelp reviews, Angie reviews, any review site that's out there, just kind of combing through those reviews. And, it used to be, hey, do you have 5 stars? Do you have 4 stars? Like, what's your star rating? And then it evolved to, how many reviews you have tied to
Yep.
that rating. And now it's about frequency.
Yep.
How often are you getting reviews? Because, COVID kind of showed us that it's not just about your overall star rating, because good businesses can run into hard times and end up not delivering good customer service if the circumstances change. So looking through those reviews and seeing how the business has evolved and making sure that month over month those businesses are delivering a good customer experience. And you
Yeah.
can see that in the reviews. Are you getting reviews monthly? Are they positive? And what are people saying about your business online?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what we help our clients do with G4. And we teach them about, star rating, quality, quantity is important, but also, like you said, frequency is also very important. They want to see what you did yesterday, not what you did 3 months ago. They want to know how you did yesterday. So that's really good. What else? What else? So we've talked about the money, we've talked about reputation. What else are they looking for?
Well, they want to make sure that you have, you're running a good business and you have good systems and processes. You have a good team, good employees, good staff. But it starts with the finances. And then after the finances come through, obviously checking to make sure the reputation's there, asking around as part of the due diligence, asking suppliers, manufacturers, other companies that are part of the network. Hey, what do you think about these guys? Are they good? Do they do good work? Do they treat their customers fairly? And then after that, it's a matter of submitting a bunch of things related to your company, your org chart, your manuals. They want to see that you're running a successful business, and it's not just, hey, he had a couple good years. You have a track record of running a good business profitably. And then when
Yeah.
they look at the financials, it's not just 1 or 2 years, it's a few years. There's a look back, like a 3-year look back, is typical. So, hey, how'd you do last year and the previous 2 years, to indicate, hopefully, is this company not just a fly by night? Hey, they had a good storm. They made a lot of money for a couple of years and they're going to, come crashing down. They look for longevity. And
Yeah.
obviously, tenure of business, how long has your business been operating, goes a long way as well.
So what's interesting about this, so for the listener, what's interesting about this is everything that he's talking about here, whether you want to sell your company or you don't want to sell your company, these are all of the things that make a business work in this industry, in this or any other industry. But it's as you were talking, I was thinking about Michael Gerber and the E-Myth. And what Michael Gerber talks about, that one of the main points of the E-Myth is create a franchise model out of your business. And that's exactly what you're describing here. It's about systems and processes. It's about creating predictable results in the business. But those predictable results are marketing, sales, production, customer experience, finance, HR, all of those things. You want to create systems and processes so that you've got a predictable outcome. And when you have predictable outcomes, then you can measure and you can track, and then you can work on improvements. So if my close rate right now is 36%, and I've got a $4,000 NSLI, and I've got a 12% marketing cost, I can take all of those numbers, and now I could say, okay, how do I get my marketing cost from 12 to 11? How do I get my close rate from 36 to 37? How do I get my NSLI from 4,000 to 42? Whatever. I'm just throwing numbers out, but these are the things that you can do. So for the listener, as we're talking with David here, don't only think of this in terms of selling a business. Think of this in terms of what are all of the things that they did in order to create a successful company, whether they were going to sell it or they weren't going to sell it, because I think this is really powerful stuff. And it goes along with everything else that we talk about here at the Wealthy Contractor. So with that said, sorry, I had to throw that in there for the listeners. because it's not only about selling a business. Talk a little bit about process. So I know a lot of companies get stuck on this idea of documenting process. Can you talk about kind of your journey? So at 2015, you guys bought a small company, and you now and then you had to develop that into a bigger company. Along the way, you had to create systems and processes. What did that look like for you guys?
So in 2015, when I partnered up at American Home Contractors, we had things documented through a CRM, but we needed to tighten things up as we built the business. We needed to make sure there was good data flow so that any outsider could see what was going on,
Yeah.
really.
Mhm.
Obviously, first and foremost, internally, we needed to see what's going on to run a good business, but then just kind of putting that thought process in our head. All right, if somebody wants to buy our business, they need to be able to tell what's going on as well, and we need to be able to deliver those results, through data. So
Yeah.
hey, here's what's going on with our leads, here's what's going on with our appointments, our sales, our production. How fast are we producing things, how fast are we collecting things, our accounts payables and receivables, all of those things. So we just had to make sure everything was really well documented. And if and when somebody were to approach us and say, hey, we're interested in buying your business, we could deliver that report to them and basically say, hey,
Yeah.
this is what's going on
But
inside of our company.
what does that look like? I mean, how do you even sit down and start putting together all that documentation?
Well, I mean, a lot of it comes from the systems you're using. So your CRM, you can generate reports on how many leads you're receiving, through your marketing sources, and how many appointments are being issued, how many sales are being generated per lead source and per rep, because the private equity does want to see how your team is performing and making sure that you do have a solid team.
Yeah.
So a lot of it comes from reports in your CRM based on the marketing and sales and production, but then also on the financial side, it comes from your financial software like
Yeah.
QuickBooks or Timberline Sage. So we use QuickBooks, and we just delivered, a bunch of reports, and the due diligence process was pretty intense.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously they want to make sure that you're running a good business and you're not just saying you are. Um, but yeah, a lot of the information comes from, the systems and processes, the systems you're using.
Yeah. But that's how you're getting a lot of the data. I mean, how do you actually build out a process? So like your let's say your production and your customer experience process. How did you guys begin that process? Because again, a lot of people out there, a lot of companies out there, they're so busy that it's like, Brian, I know I got to put process together, but I'm so busy doing this and I'm so busy doing that. I just don't have time to do it. And I don't know what that looks like. I hear this so much. And so that's why I'm asking, like, how did you just start to even put the process together so that you could even start to accumulate the data?
So a lot of CRMs will kind of walk you through those processes. We're using Zoho right now, but
Okay.
a lot of CRMs will have it pretty much built in, the scheduling, the sales, the production, those workflows. But we just kind of put together, a roadmap of, I guess, trial and error over the years, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
What works, what doesn't work, what are we saying on the phone, what is, successful when we're speaking to people and getting an estimate, right? How do we set up those estimates properly? Documenting call scripts and really getting feedback from homeowners on objections they have when we're speaking to them, and taking those objections and saying, hey, this is what people are saying and the reasons why we're not being able to move forward in the process. And then figuring out as a team, how do we counter those objectives?
yeah,
Those objections are, pretty, if you narrow them down, there's probably 3 or 4 common objections,
yeah,
when you talk to somebody on the phone. So then
yeah,
mapping that out, writing it down so that when you go from one scheduler, you can hire another one and
yeah,
then get to 2 to 3 and then kind of scale that up based on systems and processes and documenting it in a manual, kind of like
yeah,
franchising your business you were talking about. You
yeah,
want to have it all written out so that if somebody comes on board, you can just hand them a manual and say, hey, this is how we do things.
yeah,
Obviously, there's more that goes into it. You got to train them. You got to, teach them about the company culture, the mission, the visions, what makes you who you are. But you should be able to give them a nice, well thought out manual and basically say, hey, here's your job. Here's where you fit into the organization. And if you do this, this will lead to success. And that's
right.
kind of how we did all of our processes from scheduling to sales to production, how we handle phone calls to service, right? When somebody calls in with a warranty question or concern, it's all documented. And you just have
Yeah.
to start there, just start writing it out. And eventually you'll fine tune it to a point where you can hand it to anybody and just plug them into your organization and add to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's great is when you start to bring on people, it's difficult to bring on people if you don't have something for them to start with, even if it's just a piece of paper that just got, the 7 steps to your job. Here's how you do it well. And then you could record stuff, you could listen in on conversations, you could type a few things out, you can write a few things. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. But like you're saying, is if you don't have these things in place, how do you bring on that next person? How do you bring on somebody good? And that's one of the big problems. It's like almost like a chicken and egg thing. People are looking for, I want to bring on these great people that are going to come in and do all of that for me. Well, chances are good you ain't going to find that person. And even if you did, they're probably not going to want to come and work for you, because they don't want to come in and develop everything. They'd rather come into a situation that's already working and looking for ways of improvement. And so, that's up to you, to us as owners, is we've got to at least get that process started. You guys, so there's 3 of you in the business, right?
There's actually 4 of us.
Oh, there's 4 of you. Okay. What was your main role?
So my main role was marketing, HR, technology, kind of the front end of the business.
Yeah.
And my partner, Steve, he focuses on the back end of the business, the accounting, the finance, making sure we're running things profitably and correctly. He's got the experience in the industry of over 35 years. So him and I together really, focus on the front and back end. And then we have 2 other partners who focus on sales.
Yeah.
Making sure we're driving revenue.
That's a lot of partners. I mean, having 1 is bad enough. Having 2 is like, wow. And then, but 3, how did you guys get alignment and stay focused and on track until the exit? Well, and now beyond. But how did you guys accomplish that without killing each other?
Yeah, it can be difficult at times. But as long as we stay in our lanes, focusing on our individual departments. So when I came on board in 2015, we were focused in Maryland, primarily Maryland. We had a license in Virginia, but not an office. So when our other business partner joined in 2016, he started a greenfield operation in Virginia. So then his focus was on Virginia. I went down there a few days a week to help get everything started. Again, on the HR side, marketing side, hiring, schedulers, hiring people to fill the staff, and he just drove revenues through sales. So he focused on what he was good at. I focused on what I was good at. And we kind of just stay in each other's lanes, but there is overlap. Obviously there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen if it comes to decision making, but we kind of try to run it like a meritocracy. Whoever's good at what should be the one who has more say in that decision, right? If it's a marketing question, I'll have more say than my other partners, even though we all provide input. If it's a finance thing, then Steve provides, more weight on his decision than others because it deals with his department that he's overseeing. So
It's
as
a
long
lot
as
of trust and respect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's built over time with the relationships. But yeah, I mean, sometimes, individuals will not see, the great thing about us is we have, our vision and mission is clear. We're all on the same page with where we want to go. It's just how we're going to get there that, can create a little friction.
Yeah, that's really good.
Let's pause here for a quick break. Do you want to grow your sales, make more money, and increase your marketing ROI this year? If you answered yes, then you'll want to listen closely to this special invitation. We're calling all home improvement business owners and marketers to join us at LeadCon 2023, happening June 6th and 7th in Atlanta, Georgia. LeadCon is the home improvement industry's only lead generation event guaranteed to show you how to outsmart, outmaneuver, and outperform your competition. Now, to get there in today's market requires sharper skills, more precise targeting, and more effective marketing and lead generation strategies. When you join us for LeadCon, you're going to discover the tools, systems, and tactics that are working right now for companies big and small to drive leads, sales, and profits. To get more information, go to www.leadconevent.com. That's LEADCON event.com. If you act soon, you can save big with discounted pricing. And for additional savings, you can enter coupon code WEALTHY23 at checkout. Remember, this event is 100% guaranteed. If you don't feel it was profitable enough for you on day one, not only will we refund you your ticket money, but we will also give you $1,000 back to cover your time and your travel. So don't delay. Go to www.leadconevent.com and secure your ticket today. Now back to this week's episode.
Yeah, if there's alignment with vision and mission, you're right. Yeah, the getting there, I mean, it could destroy everything, but at the same time, as long as you stay focused to that, that's great. Let's talk about marketing. Marketing's a big topic this year. You know, we're actually even doing an event in June that's only 2 days of only marketing, just because it's time. You know, for the last, I had never seen anything like it. You know, you'd been in business before COVID. I've been in business for, longer than I care to think about. I had never seen anything like that 2.5 year period of just an overflow of leads and people buying and unreal, but it's starting to normalize a little bit. And the first place that gets hit is marketing. So what are some of the things that, when you go build a marketing plan and you think about marketing for the year, what are some of the things that go into your thinking? How do you develop that plan?
Sure. So what we think about in terms of marketing is what has worked in the past.
Yeah.
It can't exactly predict future results, but it's a good jumping off point. Like, hey, did Google perform well for us last year? Did this magazine perform well for us last year? If it did, then odds are we're going to probably keep it as part of our budget.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we're trying to shoot for a cost of revenue of 5% or under, right? We want it to be low. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But that
That's
takes into
impressive.
consideration referrals, repeat business, all that stuff that drives that number down. So
Yeah.
even though we have marketing sources that are 10, 12, 13, 15% cost of revenue, if we do it properly with good referral programs and working our database with repeat business, we should be able to drive that number way down over the course of the year. So, and we kind of look at the overall sources as, just bets that we're placing in the beginning of the year. We're betting that these lead sources are going to perform.
Yeah.
And every year we have our tried and true horses.
But hold on a second. You're betting based on data and information from the past. I think that's really important when you say betting. Mm-hmm. I don't want people to think that you're Vegasing this thing and rolling dice. I mean,
not gambling.
You're not gambling. Okay, good. Yep.
Nope. But we still are betting because we don't know if and when a lead source will experience diminishing returns, which we've had that. We've ridden the waves of a lot of different lead sources in the past. And eventually, you can't spend indefinitely for that lead source to perform better and better and better and better. You have diminishing returns set in and it may plateau. Like if you're spending $10,000 a month with Valpak, it's not like you can spend $20,000 and recognize double the results. You may only get 50% more of the results if you double that spend. So we're trying to figure out where that sweet spot is. And over the course of time, some lead sources we notice year over year start to degrade a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we got to figure out, all right, are we going to continue running this lead source this year? If so, are we going to stick with the budget we had last year? Prices may raise. So, hey, maybe this lead source is going to charge us more to run the same amount of ads as we did last year. We got to make that decision, especially if it's been, degrading over the years. And then when we look at our overall marketing budget and the lead sources that we choose every single year, we figure out, hey, what are some speculative areas that we may want to entertain? Not not bet the farm type of scenarios, but
Right.
like, hey, let's put a
Small
little money
percentage.
into this. Yeah,
Yeah.
a small percentage, and it's asymmetrical risk, right? So you put some money into it, the worst that happens is nothing. You get
Yeah.
zero. It's not like you're going to necessarily lose money and money's going to fall out of your, out of your company. If you put $10,000 in, you lose $10,000
Mhm.
minus some opportunity cost possibly. But what's the upside? If you put $10,000 in, could we get $300,000,
Yeah.
$500,000, $1 million worth of business? Could this open up a new door, a new lead source for years to come? So we kind of look at that as, hey, we want to constantly have some speculative lead sources at play. We want to try new things. We always dip our toe in the water. We don't jump head first into the pond. We want to make sure that what we're getting involved in is going to work. So we want to see some initial results as we put some money into it. And it's tough. We try to negotiate rev share agreements. We try to negotiate, the best pricing. And we tell all of our partners, hey, we have a healthy marketing budget. And there's no reason if this doesn't work that we won't be spending a lot of money with you in
Right.
years to come. But we need to see some initial results. And then we work out what that number is going to be. Sometimes people will say, hey, you need to spend at least $10,000 a month for 3 months for us to see anything. All right, well, that's a decent amount of money, but is it worth it compared to our overall budget if we think that this lead source has good potential in the future?
So I think there's one underlying critically important thing in all of what you just said. And I would say to the listener, I do this a lot lately, is go back a minute or two and listen to what Dave said again, because all of what he said is based on the fact that he knows where every single phone call is coming from, every form that's filled in. They know how each lead source is performing. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up, Dave, is that, and you've probably seen this too, but there are a lot of people out there where you ask them, tell me, I'm spending $10,000 a month, Brian. Okay, tell me what's performing. I'm doing this on Google. I'm doing that in this. I'm doing that. Tell me what's performing. Well, I can't really tell you. What do you mean you can't tell me? You're spending $10,000 a month. You're getting X number of leads. You say you're getting X number of leads, but you don't have any data on this. And it's shocking to me. It's shocking to me. And it's simple. It's a simple solution. It's every single lead, every single phone call that comes in must have attribution to it. Even if it's a wrong flipping number, I want to know about it. And so everything that you said just now is all predicated on the fact that you have a system set up to know where these leads are coming from and what is profitable and what is not. It's kind of like buying a stock and then just like never ever looking at it again, and your broker comes along and says, oh, let's buy more stock. And you just, without asking any question about, well, how did it do? Am I making money? Am I losing money? It's like, okay, well, fine. If that's what you say, let's just buy more of it. How many shares do I have? Well, I don't know how many shares you have. You just have this. I mean, it's like that. And and too many people, too many good, hardworking people are going to go out of business because of this. Because leads are getting harder to get. I would imagine. I was going to ask you about that next. I mean, are you seeing leads tougher to get, going up, cost per lead going up? Have you experienced that yet this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's dependent on the market and what you're doing, right? If you're doing roofing and you're in an area that has a lot of storm activity, there might be a lot of people in the market. The demand might be high and supply might not be that high.
Yeah.
So, it might be easy to get, to those people that are in the market in need of your services. But in other parts of the country where the storm activity hasn't been very active, yeah, the cost per lead might be rising. In our market, the cost per lead is certainly rising. There's been
Yeah.
less storm activity since 2018. And just in general, more and more people are coming online that are doing these types of services, home improvement services. So you have to pay attention to how things are performing. You have to look at the data through your CRM and realize, hey, I'm spending this amount on this lead source. What am I getting in return? What's my return on investment? What's my cost of revenue? How much am I selling? How much am I spending on this lead source to determine your cost? And is that worth it to you? Is it, 10, 15, 20% worth it to you? It depends on your gross profit margin of where you can be with your overhead expenses. So, yeah, I mean, we have to pay attention to these things now. It's not even an option. We have
Correct.
to look through every lead source and scrutinize them very heavily. And if
Yep.
something's not performing, we want to have a good relationship with that vendor so that we reach out and say, hey, things aren't going too well. Is there something we can do to change this? If there is, sometimes the vendor will say, yeah, I'll run some free ads for you. Let's get things back on track.
Yep.
And if you're transparent and honest with your marketing partners, your vendors, then there should be no reason that you wouldn't want to help each other out. Hey, we're going through a little lull here. The lead cost per lead is way up. It's way out of our range. And if you help us run some ads, we might be able to drive this down so we can continue using you long term. Otherwise, we have to take that money we're spending with you and transfer it to a different lead source where we see a better return on investment.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Great stuff. So let me, as we wrap up here, I want to ask you a little bit about mindset. And if you don't mind, get a little bit into your head about how did you you and your partners kind of deal with, it's one thing to, slowly kind of build a business and make more and more money. Obviously you guys were doing very well in that respect. How did you and I'm not sure, I don't remember, what did you do? Let me start here. What did you do before you got into this business?
I went to high school. So, after high school, I got into the industry. I started tearing off roofs for a summer job, and that was how I got into the roofing industry. And I started
Okay.
a business in 2008, and then I sold that interest in that business in 2014,
Okay.
moved over to American Home Contractors and partnered with Steve and his
Oh, okay.
partners. Yeah.
Did the
So,
2014 sale make you rich?
no, it didn't make me rich. It made me more comfortable,
Okay.
after selling my interest in that business. But, it was a lot different than our June acquisition. That was a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
exit.
Well, you
Yeah,
still have to, you still have to work and do something.
of course.
I'm always fascinated by the mindset, because to me, all of this is like 90+% mindset and 10% skill set. And I'm always fascinated by that side of it, because I see it every day. I see it with my clients, I see it with everybody I talk to, I see it with every successful entrepreneur I've ever met. Whether they may describe, oh, I've got this cool business and I've got all these great people and blah blah blah, but it's like, and we make a whole bunch of money, but there's so much more to what's going on in our heads. So did you ever have any internal battles with yourself over this idea of growing and we got to make more money so that we can have this exit? Or did you kind of ease into it? I mean, how did you deal with the demons that were probably yelling at you at some point?
Yeah, so it is all about mindset. I agree. It's 90% mindset because, you have to be purpose driven. You
Mhm.
have to be doing something that you believe in. It's not all about the money. The money should come, from doing what you believe in. It should be there by
Absolutely.
providing value.
Right.
So, yeah, our vision was to grow the business successfully, profitably, and just run a good business, whether it's sold or not. We wanted to earn a good living, we wanted to take good care of our customers and our employees, and just make sure that we were doing good by the community. Rid the world of unscrupulous contractors. We want to do
I love
good. We
that.
want to be a
One
we
home
want
at
to
a
be a
time.
good contractor.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So having a good mindset and just being purpose driven, aside from the money, if you're focused on the money 100%, it's going to be difficult to want to go to work every single day,
Yeah.
and right now that we sold, we have to be even more purpose driven because a lot of us made a lot of money on that sale. So we have to want to go to work every single day, knowing that a lot of our basic necessities are taken care of for a while,
Yeah.
so it's more than that. It's like, what are we doing here? Why do we exist? And that's another reason why we we started doing solar roofing. Solar has been a big part of our business and our growth over the last couple years. And there's a deep mission and vision behind solar. Transitioning to sustainable energy is important to us, and it really has brought deeper meaning and purpose to our business. A few years ago, it was sub 10%. Now we're approaching 30-40% of our overall business. And I
Wow.
wouldn't be surprised if in the next year or two, more than half of our business is tied to solar roofing and energy products like Powerwall batteries and EV chargers, smart electric panels, that kind of stuff. We actually brought electric in-house last year. So now we have master electricians on staff, and we see where the industry is going with roofing and solar merging together. And, we recognize the importance of owning that electrical component because that's really the biggest the biggest challenge in solar roofing is the electric.
Yeah.
The roofing part is teachable. You can teach good roofing crews how to do slate and tile and solar roofing applications, but you have to own that electrical. So again, relating back to mindset, we had to think outside of the box and say, what is our deeper purpose here? What are we trying to accomplish? And we always want to be, one of the leaders in the industry, and we always want to see where the puck is heading, not where it's at currently, but where is it heading? Where do we have to be, 1, 3, 5 years from now to be successful and ahead of the competition? And solar and roofing merging together, we realized we had to be there and we have to start building that out. And I like to say that we're one of the leading companies in that space, Tesla certified solar roofing contractors, Powerwall, it's the future. So we're proud to be
Wow.
there.
Cool. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, look, man, I appreciate you coming back. Congratulations again on your exit. That's amazing. And I'm sure that you guys will continue to build a great company there in the DC area. And I wish you nothing but continued success. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Brian.
All right, everybody. Well, until next time, this is Brian Kaskavalsian with G4 Marketing Group, and this is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Let me ask you, did it help you look at your business in a different way? Did it spark an idea or ideas that you hadn't thought of before? Do you have a list of action items that you can take and implement into your business or your life today? I really hope so. If it did, I'd like to ask you a favor. Would you leave a 5-star review of the podcast? By doing so, you'll help other contractors find the podcast more easily so that we can help them achieve more success, wealth, and freedom. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Contractor Podcast so you get access to the latest episodes as soon as they're available. We're always striving to provide you with great content so you don't want to miss what's coming up. In fact, if you haven't already, make sure you go to thewealthycontractor.com and get your free copy of my latest book, The 7 Secrets to Becoming a Wealthy Contractor. Just pay shipping and handling, and I'll take care of the cost of the book. And finally, a big thanks to G4 Marketing for sponsoring the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. For over 12 years now, G4 Marketing has been the secret back office relationship marketing team for hundreds of home improvement and home service businesses just like yours. You get the customer, and our proven system turns that customer into 5-star reviews and profitable repeat and referral business. If your home improvement or home services company completes at least 10 jobs per month, they have a solution that will work for you. To find out more, sign up for your free, no obligation, 10-minute discovery call at www.gfourmarketing.com/strategy. That's GFOUR marketing.com/strategy. Set your discovery call up today, and they'll help you set your business up for long-term profits and success. So until next time, this is Brian Kaskavalsian.